This video is addressing a change in one of the required documents kind of across the board for loss mitigation packages. If you are already a subscriber, good to see you. If not, subscribe, like the video, ask me a question, anything to help me kind of get this information out to everybody who needs help. So the 4506T form was originally required as a part of a loss mitigation package. So if you're somebody applying to keep the home through a loan modification, applying for a repayment plan, a short sale, a deed in lieu, some sort of loss mitigation thing, almost 100% of the time you will have had to have submitted this 4506T form. There's another video here about that form. They are about to change the requirement from it being a 4506T form to a 4506C form. So this video it has a link to the actual form below this video, so you can get that form here. Just generally, the 4506C form does the same thing as the 4506T. It basically gives your mortgage lender permission to ask the IRS to verify your tax filings with them. The reason that they need that, right, is because as part of the modification or the short sale process or whatever you're trying to do, banks want to know what's going on with your household income, and tax returns are part of that required financial package. If you want more information on what other documents are required or why they want your tax returns, there's other videos on this page to watch, but they do want your tax returns. You will have to provide that. And the 4506C form is a way for the bank to take the form that you've signed, getting your permission to go directly to the IRS and say, there you go, you can send me their tax returns, and they can send, the IRS can send the mortgage lender any other answers to questions that they have about your return. So what you're doing when you're filling out this form is you're basically just giving your mortgage lender permission to talk to the IRS about your taxes. Side comment, if you didn't file taxes, you can still apply for loss mitigation options. You have to submit a letter saying that you didn't file tax returns. Watch my letter of explanations video on this page, different topic, but even if you didn't file, you can still apply. But if you are going to fill out this 4506T form, 4506C form, use the link below. It's very straightforward. I'm just going to walk through the little fields to make sure to help you guys. Box 1A, it says name as shown on tax returns. Make really sure that the name that you fill in here is the name that you filed your tax return with. A lot of us have nicknames. A lot of us go by our middle name. A lot of us, have suffix to our name that maybe we use when we file our taxes, but we forget to write on papers. So make sure this document will get rejected if it's not your legal name that you use to file your tax return. Box 1B, your social security number, straightforward. Write your social security number, write it in the format that we all use, 3 numbers, dash, 1 number, dash, whatever, 4 numbers. Yeah, make sure you have the dashes, don't jam it all together. If it's a joint return, box 2A, you want to write the name of the person that you filed a joint return with. If you are two spouses who filed returns separately, don't use the same 4506T form, submit 2 separate ones. So the only time there should be the name of somebody on box 2A is if that's actually a person that you filed a joint return with. If it's just your spouse and they filed their own return, separate forms. Box 2B, easy, social security number for that person you did the joint return for. Line 3, that's where you put your name, address, and zip code. Make sure you write that in full, right? So write everything out. If you have an apartment number or a unit number, make sure you include that. Make sure you include a full zip code. Don't do any weird abbreviations. Just set yourself up for success. If you are wondering, like, what is my actual address? Is it Avenue or is it Ave, A-V-E? Google your own address online and you'll start to see how it's shown on like websites like Redfin and Zillow, and that will tell you like this is kind of how the county reports your address, and so use that address. Previous address, line 4, if you had a different address when you filed the last return, put that address there. So basically, it's if you filed your last year's return at one address and then you moved, line 3 should have your current address, but line 4 should have the address that's attached to your most recent return. Line 5B, you can leave that blank for purposes of loan modifications or short sales. If you want to fill it in, you can put in your loan number, but write that out. Write loan number and then a colon and then write your full loan number. You don't have to do that. It won't get rejected if you don't do that, but you might want to. You don't have a file number, but you do have a loan number, but you're going to want to identify that you're writing your loan number, so write loan number. Line number 6, you're going to want to choose the tax form that applies to you. Most of my homeowners have a 1040, so they write 1040, but read that line and choose what's applicable to you. And then under line 6, you have a choice A, B, and C. You can ask them to give a return transcript, an account transcript, or a record of the account. There's descriptions on the form for which ones are there. For purposes of loss mitigation and loan modifications and short sales and purposes of what I do, it's sufficient to check box A and just have them provide a return transcript. If your lender specifically tells you something different, do what they tell you, but across the board, you're going to want to probably check box A. Box C, record of account, that's kind of the most comprehensive and the most detailed. The reason why you wouldn't check box C or you wouldn't check box B if you were doing this for a loan modification would be because it might slow everything down. You want the IRS to quickly be able to grab your transcripts and send it to the bank if that's what's happening, and so you don't want to like overcomplicate it or ask them to provide more if you don't have to. So leave it with box A unless you're told differently by your bank. Down on number 8, you want to tell them the period of time you're requesting. Always include the most recent 2 years of tax filings. So if it's 2019 and 2020, the dates you want to use are always 12/31/2019 and then 12/31/2020. It's always the last day of the year, and it's always written out just like that. There's pre-filled boxes on this form, so that should be pretty straightforward. Underneath that, this is the big thing that always gets missed and always causes these forms to get rejected. There's a little tiny box where you, the signatory, are attesting that you've read everything on the form. Make sure you put a check mark in that box. A lot of people fill out the form perfectly and then they do not check that box, and then it gets rejected and your loan modification slows down and then everything gets harder. So make sure you check that box. Sign the form, wet signature, no electronic signatures. That can easily get rejected by the IRS. Don't do like a weird signature that you've never done before. Do your regular signature. And my recommendation is if your name with the IRS has a middle initial or a suffix, sign out the whole thing. So my name is Nadia Kate Corridor. So if I signed it for the IRS for this form, I would sign it Nadia Kate Corridor, just to make sure that they have everything that they need. They're finicky and you never know when they're going to request stuff, so just make it easy on them and sign your name as it's shown. Fill in a date, make sure you make that the date that you're signing it, and then put your phone number in the phone number box. And then you shouldn't have to put a title unless, of course, you're requesting for a corporation or a partnership, but you usually can leave that blank if it's just you requesting yours. And then again, if there was somebody on the return as a joint filer, they need to sign, they need to write the name, they need to fill in the date. Good luck.